get ready to go. Awesome. All right, here we go. Well, welcome everybody to Morpho Institute Information Night. We are super excited to have a really big crowd joining us tonight to learn more about our field programs. And we hope to get all your questions answered and give you the information you need to make a decision about joining us in Amazon next summer. So my name is Krista Dillabaugh, and I am the director of the Morpho Institute, and I also serve as the program coordinator for both of our field programs in the Amazon. So we have a pretty rigorous agenda this evening, so I want to go ahead and get started. And to kick this off, I want to tell you just a little bit more about the Morpho Institute. So we are a 501c3 nonprofit. We were founded by educators and we're run by educators, either formal educators with classroom background or informal educators. And we've all come together in the belief that education can move the dial on conservation, both here at home and in the Amazon. So that's the perspective that we're coming into when we develop field programs, lead field programs, and all the other resources and things that Morpho Institute is involved in. So our agenda for this evening, we think it's really important as educators to provide some context about why the Amazon. So we'll talk about that a little bit. I'll give you an overview of both of our field programs for next summer, give you some insight into where we work and why we work there, attempt to answer the challenging question of, are we really making a difference and what does that look like? Give you a chance to meet from the faculty and hear from a couple of them, talk about our pre-departure preparation process, and then also, of course, the important travel and logistics and all the big questions about how to actually get registered and start the process of joining us next summer in the Amazon. Please use the chat and use the Q&A for your questions. Those are being monitored and they'll be answered, if not by me in real time, then in the chat or in the Q&A section. And then we'll leave some time at the end to also take some questions so we can make sure that we've got everything answered for you. So let's start with why the Amazon. Big question, good question. And the short answer is that it's a critically important global resource. It makes up 50% of the world's remaining rainforest. It stores and regulates a huge amount of carbon. It regulates weather and climate across the continent of South America and even globally. It is even suggested that it's driving weather patterns, certainly within the region, but also potentially globally. It is a resource we can't afford to take for granted because it impacts climate in such a big way. So as educators, we want to know more about that, and we want our students and our colleagues and our participants to know more about that. Also along those lines, it's really big and it's geopolitically complex. It's about, or a little bit larger than the size of the continental United States, but its future is going to be determined by 9 sovereign nations. So there's a lot of deep history and culture and geopolitics that go in to conserving something and protecting something as vast as the Amazon. So that's an important piece of understanding why the Amazon is important to all of us as well. In addition, it's a huge watershed. It pumps out more water to the tune of 11 times more water than the Mississippi watershed in the United States. It also contains 20% of the world's fresh and flowing water. Fun fact, if you didn't know this already, the Amazon empties into the Atlantic over here on the eastern side of Brazil. And we do our work way over here in northern Peru. That's a little less than 3,000 miles from point A to point B. You can actually get ocean-going vessels all the way up the Amazon to Iquitos. So that gives you some perspective on just how massive this river is and how big this watershed actually is, and it's the amount of water that is flowing through this system. Also, along those lines is biodiversity. Well known that the Amazon is a biodiversity hotspot. It's home to 10% of all the described plants and animals on Earth, 1/3 of all the terrestrial plants and animals on Earth. And these are not stock images. These are images that have actually been taken by our faculty and by our participants. So joining us on one of our field programs, you're going to really get exposed to a lot of amazing biodiversity that very few people in the world get a chance to see. If you're really jazzed by this, I encourage you to head on over to our iNaturalist page and check out our projects, and you'll be able to see a lot more of the data points and observations that have been collected by participants of our field programs over the years. So really, we're trying to move the dial on what we know about and what we're observing about biodiversity in the Amazon. Another big reason to care about the Amazon, it is home to over 500 indigenous nations. And there is a very, very tight correlation between indigenous territories and biodiversity hotspots. If you overlay indigenous territories over biodiversity areas of high biodiversity and conservation, there's a very strong correlation. So we are really attuned to this, and we are quite proud to partner with the indigenous Maihuna of northern Peru and support their biodiversity conservation areas. It's fascinating to hear how much stronger the indigenous voices are and how much more respect is being given to their conservation management practices. And we are certainly wanting to incorporate that into our programs and share that with our participants. One of my favorite questions from one of my favorite ethnobotanists is that rainforests hold answers to questions that we have yet to ask. I just shared some of the basics, some of the big picture things, but there is so much we don't know about this ecosystem, to the point where we don't even know what questions to ask all the time. So there's a plethora of things to explore and to discover. And yet at the same time, even though we know it's as valuable as it is, and we know we're losing it faster than we should be, the deforestation continues. The headlines right now are not terrific. If you've been reading anything at all, the fires are ramping up again in Brazil. There's concern about the Amazon hitting a tipping point when it no longer sequesters carbon, but starts releasing it at a net rate. Biodiversity crisis and extinction. There's just a lot to be concerned about. And so as an organization and as educators, we continually challenge ourselves, well, what is our role in all of this as teachers and as educators? And how do we move the dial on this? And what's our responsibility and our role in all that? So Morpho Institute's answer is inquiry-based field programs for K-16 educators, heart-centered right in the middle of the Peruvian Amazon. Our goal is to get teachers, the biggest amplifiers of knowledge and education, into this space so that they can bring the learning and the understanding back to their students and their colleagues and their communities. Before I dip into the programs, which is coming up next, I did want to give you just a brief history of educators in the Amazon and how we got to be sitting here this evening. There have been teachers in the Amazon, in this part of the Amazon, since 1992, when some of the very first teacher workshops were held. I was the lucky participant of one of the very first ones in 1993, not to give away any age things here. Fast forward over the course of many years, in 2013, the organization that founded those workshops was ready to hand it off and pass it over to new leadership. And at that point, myself and a colleague at Arizona State University, Dr. Melina Walters, and I, and Al Stenstrup from Project Learning Tree, sat down and said, how can we take the Amazon classroom and turn it into a true professional development opportunity for teachers? What would that look like? What would we need to do? And we settled on what we call the Educator Academy in the Amazon. And it's a really tight blend of Amazon ecology and culture and history, as well as the pedagogy of how do you bring experiences like this back to your classroom. So that first Educator Academy was held in 2013. Over the course of those next many years, it became very clear that in order for the program and our work in the Amazon and our impact to continue, we needed to switch this over to a nonprofit for two reasons. One, we wanted to be able to really amplify our impact in the Amazon and our work with our conservation partners. And we also wanted to be able to go after funding for teachers to help them access this opportunity. So in 2018, the Morpho Institute was launched, but it's built on a legacy that began in 1992. So now, fast forward 2022, 10 years of the Educator Academy, 2023, the launch of our new Amazon Research Initiative, 2024, another successful return to the Amazon. And now here we are already gearing up for 2025. So what we're looking at for 2025 are two programs, and I want to compare them not completely side by side, but one at a time. So you have a really good sense of what these programs offer and which one is potentially the best fit for you. Again, our flagship program, the Educator Academy in the Amazon, that runs from July 1 through 10. It's run the same dates for the last many years. We just keep it easy and always run it at the same time. We also then have launched the Amazon Research Initiative for Educators, which we fondly call ARI, and that runs from July 11th through the 20th. So let's take a look at what these two programs are really all about, starting with the Educator Academy. It is designed and built around an interdisciplinary workshop model. So we bring in lots of expertise, both pedagogical expertise, neotropical expertise, content expertise, and they lead workshops that are all designed to help you build a place-based inquiry lens while you're in the Amazon. The program makes deep classroom connections both before departure, while we're in the field, and then even continues that on after you get back home. It's anchored in doing field investigations that can easily be transferred back to K-12 classrooms. And it also has a strong focus on local community-based conservation. All of these things designed to be brought back to your class, your colleagues, and your community. We start by immersing you in the environment in this very amazing place. And we explore the role of awe as a foundation for inquiry. There is not, I don't think, a better terrestrial place on the planet to be stopped in your tracks by awe moments throughout every day and every evening while you're there. It definitely recalibrates and rechanges or reconfigures what your brain does in nature when you're in the Amazon. In addition to that, we use the Amazon as a classroom constantly. We are out in the field for all of our workshops, getting immersed into the environment, and we carve out time during the day as part of those workshops to give you opportunities to reconnect with your colleagues, to lean into your teaching profession, and get back to that core of why you became an educator, the power of being an educator, and also the power of being a learner with like-minded colleagues. So the friendships that you will develop across the table and in the across the room with your colleagues will last a lifetime, guaranteed. We have teachers that still get together decades later on an annual basis to reconnect. In addition to that, move forward there. We also work very closely with local partners, including our friends, the Indigenous Maihuna. They serve as faculty and lead workshops for us. So again, bringing in that cultural perspective and that local Peruvian perspective, which is critically important. And we also spend every spare minute of daylight we have to get out and exploring in the environment, which also includes the water environment. It's a water-rich location, and so we're out taking advantage of that every minute of every day. A typical day for the Educator Academy is starting before breakfast at 6 o'clock for wildlife watching and bird watching, which almost always includes some participatory science using eBird from Cornell Lab of Ornithology, hearty breakfast, wonderful meals, and then we start into our field workshops. Each morning has a field workshop and every afternoon has a field workshops. And these run the gamut in a very strategic way from introducing inquiry, working through the inquiry process in a field investigative way. It includes master classes on entomology, tropical ecology, medicinal plants, community-based conservation and community with our indigenous partners, visiting a local school that we collaborate and partner with and working with their teachers and students. We top off each day with roundtable discussions before dinner. And these are an opportunity to dig deeper into the topics of the day or expand the discussion with faculty and additional expertise. And then if you're still standing at the end of each day, there's always an evening night hike or a boat ride to cap things off and explore the Amazon after dark, which is always super fun. So to recap, the Educator Academy, July 1 through 10, it's all about the inquiry process. It's all about learning how to ask good questions and help your students ask good questions in a field environment where it's very different than a laboratory. We use the Pacific Education Institute Guide to Field Investigations, which is tightly tied to NGSS and the 5E model, which is absolutely perfect for this kind of work, and it's applicable K-12. We include STEM opportunities and have a collaboration with Pocket Labs, use their data sensors for collecting abiotic data and capturing data you can bring back to your classrooms. You'll hear from our one of our faculty members that's part of the Bug Chicks team. They bring the social emotional learning aspect into this whole equation and just do a masterful job of relating everything you do in the Amazon back to your classroom and how you can take that and really build social emotional learning experiences for your students using some of the information garnered in the field. Certainly tropical ecology and natural history are a big piece of it, cultural connections and indigenous perspectives. So it is a very broad-ranging, holistic look at everything that the Amazon has to offer, and it's all done through the lens of inquiry. Next up is the Amazon Research Initiative for Educators, which we will shorten down to ARI for ease of conversation. This is our brand new project. We piloted it for 2 years right after COVID, and then we officially launched it last summer. And it's just taking off like gangbusters. It's been something we've been wanting to do for a long time. Participants of our Educator Academy ask for a deeper, richer experience to come back to. And we also had teachers saying, hey, I really, really, really want to dig into actual field research and work with tropical biologists and ecologists to work on biodiversity conservation and how you go about monitoring that and cataloging that. So we came up with the program, and the theme of it is really monitoring biodiversity in a changing world. So we're looking at establishing long-term research projects led by leaders in tropical ecology, both from the US and in Peru, and starting to build a database of what's happening in a 4,000-acre private reserve in the Peruvian Amazon. And I'll talk a little bit more about that reserve and who owns it and why it's really important to us a little bit later when we talk about our study sites. Part of what we do is establishing baseline species inventories. And we also put this whole thing in context in our collaboration and our work with the indigenous Maihuna, who have a very, very large reserve adjacent to our primary study site in the Amazon. So let's take a look at some of the activities that we've done over the last couple of years during the ARI program. So long-term, we've established 2 plots. One is a control plot and one is a plot where there was a tree fall. And with the help of a botanist from the New York Botanical Garden and our director of conservation research and conservation engagement, came up with a series of protocols for how to collect data on how these plots are changing over time, modeled after how larger organizations like Missouri Botanical Garden and other locations do these kinds of assessments in the field. So teachers are actually learning how to collect this data, how to set up a plot, and then actually collecting the data that we will be using over time. In addition to that, Nancy Troutman from Cornell Lab of Ornithology has introduced acoustic monitoring. So that's been an exciting addition, and that data is going to be uploaded and processed at some point at the Macaulay Library, hopefully at Cornell Lab of Ornithology. In addition, we often have short-term projects that are special projects for researchers that collaborate with us in this project. Lindsay Swerk, who's on our faculty and on our board, is a herpetologist from SUNY Binghamton. She specializes in lizards, and her big fascination is canopy lizards in the Amazon. And she was really interested in assessing predation pressure. So she and her team 2 years ago created a protocol using clay models to begin to sort of standardize and create a model for how you might go about assessing predation pressure. Again, something that could easily be done at home. It's been done with butterflies and other model organisms. So these protocols are designed to be scientifically accurate and very valuable in gathering data, but also something that you can work on transferring back to your own home study site. Another big piece of what we do, as I mentioned before, is foundational species surveys. This is the orchid bee survey that was begun in 2023 and continued in 2024. I'm not going to go into the absolutely amazing natural history of orchid bees tonight, but Google them when you get a chance. They're fantastic. And I think what this is doing is we're collecting foundational data on what species of orchid bees are found in this 4,000 acre reserve. Orchid bees are indicator species for biological health. And so we need to have a baseline. What's here? Are we seeing change over time? So this will be a project that goes on for quite a while. And this specimen collection has now been deposited in the San Marcos Museum in Lima. And so those specimens are staying where they belong in their home country, but our teachers are actually doing the work of doing the collection, learning how to do the protocols. Again, so many transferable skills back to the classroom in this exercise, but also contributing to baseline information about what we know about this little particular part of the Amazon. Typical day for the RE program, again, early morning wildlife monitoring and wildlife watching, often up in the canopy walkway, which I'll talk about the canopy walkway and how wonderful that is in just a moment. And then it's a full day devoted to field research. The teams assemble, protocols are put in place, data is collected, and then every day there's an opportunity for work on the field reports that are required as part of the product that gets produced from this program and the data processing. Guest lectures, pre-dinner discussions, getting to know your faculty up close as researchers and as humans. And then, of course, always evening activities like night hikes and black lighting for bugs and things like that. So those are the two. Well, let me just wrap it up real quick with the RE program. Different from the Educator Academy and its strong emphasis on research skills and protocols, data collection and analysis. Science communication is a piece of this as well. We require that each team submit their field reports in a scientific paper type of way. You can see previous years over on our blog. The ones from 2024 will be coming up shortly, hopefully by the beginning of October. Those will be posted. We've been kind of busy getting ready to open registration for next year. And of course, classroom applications. We're also really excited that we are recruiting a group of a team to conduct geography research as part of this RE program. We really want to anchor this in context and in the cultural context and do some more collaborating in this program with our Maihuna Indigenous partners. So if this is something that you're interested in, or you've gotten wind of this geography team project idea through Facebook and the geography teachers groups and the AP environmental science groups too, make sure you let us know that that's a special part that you're interested in knowing more about. So two different programs, Educator Academy, Amazon Research Initiative, two different dates, two different emphases, but always in the same place. We are so incredibly lucky that we have been working in the Amazon, the Northern Amazon, for the entire existence of the Morpho Institute and the legacy that our programming is built upon. So where we work is way up here in northern Peru, Ecuador to the west, Colombia to the north, and Brazil to the east. You fly into Lima, which is a little bit further down here, and then fly from Lima into Iquitos, which is our destination city. So this is a zoom in on where we work. One thing I want to point out here, if it's not obvious right away, is that there are no roads in this area. The only way to get into Iquitos is by plane or by river. And if you're coming by river, you probably need to be thinking about leaving in the next month or so. It's going to take you that long, maybe not quite that long, but it's going to take you that long to traverse the Amazon in a small craft to get to Iquitos. So we fly in, and then we are on the water as transport to get to our study sites. We are super lucky and fortunate to have a really long and wonderful collaboration with Amazon Explorama Lodges. They have been in business for nearly 60 years. They have hosted all of the teacher workshops from their inception back in 1992. They have become a really valuable partner to the Morpho Institute, and we just cannot be more grateful for everything they do to make our field programs run so smoothly. They allow us to stay completely in our lane as educators and as conservation researchers, and just make all of the magic happen when it comes to lodging and food and transportation, and just cannot speak highly enough about how much we love them and their team and their staff, and just could not do this work effectively without them. So where we actually wind up on this map is quite often we will start at Explorama's Explorama Lodge, which is right on the Amazon River, about an hour and a half downriver from Iquitos. Explorama Lodge, rustic, but comfortably, beautifully rustic. Screened in rooms. You actually do have a bathroom attached to the room with, believe it or not, a flush toilet and cold showers, which feel amazingly good in the hot, humid environment of the Amazon. So this is a little bit of luxury before we head out to our next primary study site, a little bit further down the Amazon and then turning up the Napo River to the Axe, Peru field station, also owned and operated by Amazon Explorama Lodges. The field station is located in the center of the Napo Sukasari Biological Reserve, which is about 4,000 acres. Again, it's a private reserve. It's owned and operated by Amazon Explorama Lodges. And we have the great privilege of really taking the lead on turning this area into a research site for teachers and students. So it is a basic rustic field station. This is actually a view of the outside of the rooms. So you can see they're all open air with some privacy curtains. Every room comes with mosquito nets and all of your linens are provided. You will be showering in cold showers and you will be using latrines and flashlights are really important. But the accommodations are super comfortable, super safe. And we just, talk about full immersion into the Amazon. This is really, really it. It is a very unique and wonderful place where we get to spend most of our July as faculty and as members of the board. And we hope that you will be joining us next summer on that. So regardless of whether you're attending the Educator Academy or the Amazon Research Initiative, the study sites are going to be the same. It's just how we approach what we do in those study sites. But regardless, we take advantage of the incredible classroom that is the Amazon. I mean, this is a giant buttress root tree. And here's a team of elementary school teachers from Petaluma, California, doing a very small plot survey that they can share all of their data back with their classroom. Simply amazing. We also are out with teams of expert entomologists, botanists, tiger beetle experts, tropical ecology epiphyte specialists during our RE program. So again, we just take full advantage of the rainforest from forest floor to the very tippy top of the trees. Again, so incredibly lucky that we get to work with Explorama Lodges and take advantage of their legendary canopy walkway. This is a 1/4-mile walkway. It's one of the longest in the world, quite possibly one of the oldest. It's been in operation since 1992. Most visitors will start at one end, walk to the other end, and be on their way. We have the extraordinary privilege of being on site for 3, 4, 5, 6 days, depending on which program you're in. And we're able to access this canopy walkway morning, noon, and night. We're able to access it for moments of awe and wonder. We're able to access it for research. We're able to access it for citizen science. It's just quite an incredible opportunity to be able to explore the rainforest canopy at multiple times of day, even at night after dark, and be part of capturing data that can be taken back to classrooms so that the story of the Amazon can be shared really effectively with students and colleagues and community. This is the view from the highest platform, platform number 6. And this actually looks out on unbroken rainforest, and it also looks out on the Maihuna Quechua Regional Conservation Area. This is really, really a foundational piece of why the Morpho Institute came to be. As I said when we started this, we're a team of educators, and we continually ask ourselves, what is our role in Amazon conservation and how can education move the dial on that? And we also are always asking, are we making a difference? And how do we know that? We do have all sorts of data from surveys that we're making a difference in teachers' lives and in their professional development. That's really, we have really strong data points on that. Happy to share. If anybody would like to see that, or if you need to write a grant for funding, I'm happy to share that information. But what are we doing about making a difference on the ground? We could answer that in a lot of different ways, but I'm going to focus right now on our collaboration with the Maihuna of Peru and their amazing emerging conservation story. We met this community back in 2017, just 2 short years after they had received title back to their ancestral lands, and the Maihuna Quechua Regional Conservation Area was formed. So after struggling with illegal logging and illegal poaching for many, many years, and poaching to the point where their food supply, both their fish in their rivers and their large game animals, had really been decimated, the Maihuna were in pretty dire straits. And through collaborating with some other nonprofits, international and US nonprofits, they were able to build the capacity they needed to get nearly 1 million acres put into a conservation area designated again as the Maihuna Quechua Regional Conservation Area. So we got wind of this in 2016, and we met with the Maihuna community members and the team from One Planet, another nonprofit that we collaborate with, and sat down with the leaders of the community and said, we really want to be involved. We want to stand shoulder to shoulder with you and partner with you on your goals for a sustainable future. We understand that you're interested in developing some ecotourism projects and developing some workshops. And we'd really like to co-collaborate with you on that, because we think we've got an absolutely perfect test audience: teachers. They will take your message and they will bring it back to their classrooms. They will share it with their communities. They will be the best attentive audience you're ever going to ask for. And we'd really like to do this work with you. And so we set off on that adventure in conjunction with One Planet and also Explorama Lodges. And the result of that has been a series of workshops that teachers now get to participate in that are led by Maihuna community leaders. In this case, this is Douglas sharing their cultivation of stingless bees, which they've brought out of the wild so that they're no longer unsustainably harvesting honey. They're bringing them into captivity and into honey production, and it's highly valued as a medicinal product. And so our teachers get to have a very immersive hands-on experience like this because of the work that we were fortunate to be at the table to help get started. This is Marina inviting participants into her kitchen. We've just gotten off the boats after learning about how the Maihuna hunt for fish and the different types of species of fish that are in their rivers and biodiversity levels. And Marina and some other women in the community often invite us into their homes to share their traditional ways of preparing their daily meal and what their life is like. So it has become a very integral and important part of the work that we do. And when we ask ourselves, are we making a difference and why is it important? It becomes really amplified when you understand that the Peruvian government has now proposed a road that would actually bisect the newly won Maihuna conservation area. With this would come massive deforestation. Roads are just detrimental no matter where they get planted, but particularly in the heart of the Amazon. And so are we making a difference and are we supporting our Indigenous partners? And we really believe that we are. Our workshops that we collaborate with them on bring revenue into the community. We donate offset the cost of offsetting carbon of every participant and every faculty member, and that goes into a fund that supports the Maihuna in their fight against the road. We also have teachers that are evaluating camera trap data that's assessing biodiversity levels and biodiversity recovery, and it's so exciting to be in the field and realize that biodiversity recovery is actually happening now that the Maihuna have taken back control of these lands. Harpy eagles are being spotted, jaguars are being heard, river otters are being seen, peccaries, big game animals are coming back, tapir, things that had disappeared from big chunks of this conservation area are now coming back, and that's all thanks to the conservation efforts of our partners, the Maihuna. We are just delighted to invite our participants into this space to get to meet our friends and colleagues and join us in supporting their conservation story. So that's our answer to, are we making a difference? Do we have a lot more work to do? Absolutely. But we invite all of our educator friends to get in there and help us do it. So I'm going to keep this thing moving because I want to be honoring everybody's time. I want to introduce you to some faculty, and I also want to have them take the mic here for just a little bit. We have an incredible team. The founding team includes Dr. Nancy Troutman from Cornell Lab of Ornithology. She was their director of education. Dr. Kelly Keena, who is currently with Underwriters Laboratory as their director of education, but she has a deep background in environmental education and assessment. And then myself, former high school, middle school biology teacher and life science teacher who somehow found herself in charge of this amazing organization. And then our brand new president, Dr. Rosanna Ruiz, who I'd love to turn the mic over to for a minute, Mike, or Mike over there to Ro, if you're there. So go for it, Ro. Are you muted?
Got it. Thank you.
Yeah, absolutely.
That was me. My bad. I was just thanking everybody for joining us this evening. So anyway, I'd just like to start by saying that most of my career has been with an environmental focus. I spent over a decade in land conservation and decades in environmental education, both as a formal and informal educator. And I say this to encourage those that may be informal educators and just aren't sure if this is the right fit. You're in the right spot. I had both experienced and facilitated immersive experiences in the past before I attended the academy. But when I attended the academy in 2019, it was just over the top. Being immersed in a biodiversity hotspot was a total game changer, and it rekindled a fire in me to help those that I mentor connect with the natural world as a means of affecting change and how we as a species connect with and care for the environment. The Amazon experience, it affirms the things that you may already know, but it builds curiosity and moves you to begin to question the things you thought you already knew. And then it awakens things in you that may have been long forgotten. You leave with a broadened perspective and a deeper connection, not only to the environment, but to the local culture and to the cohort of educators who share the experience with you. It's an amazing group of guides, and the Explorama team is an amazing group that really helps lift the experience. And bringing it back with you, I can say that I use my new perspective in my classroom constantly. Every semester, I teach at the college level, so I get a new group of students, and it really helped me kind of change the way I was always just trying to get them to go deep, right? Let's get to the bigger parks, the national parks. I learned that it was much more effective to get them to connect with the local culture, the local community, what was right in their backyard. So it's place-based, right? And that you're in the immersion in the Amazon, and that's place-based, and you come home and it's just a heightened awareness. So yes, I highly encourage you guys to come and join us out the Educator Academy and Ari.
Thanks, Ro.
You're welcome.
Okay. I can get my screen to advance. Come on, screen. Okay. We also have on our team Dr. Lindsay Twerk, who's at the State University of New York, Binghamton. She's a herpetologist. She's not with us tonight, but she's Morpho's Director of Research, and she heads up the Amazon Research Initiative for us. We also have Dr. Katie Filan, who's a primatologist and conservation biologist, and she's our Director of Conservation Engagement. I'm going to let Katie take the wheel here for a minute and introduce herself.
Hi, everyone. Thank you so much for joining us this evening. And we also hope to see you in the Amazon in July. And so Ro and Krista have done a great job at explaining some of the things that you will gain from this experience. And I'm sure you're going to hear a lot more of that throughout the evening. I want to flip the script a little bit and talk about why you coming to the Amazon is essential for the conservation of the Amazon. I'm a classically trained conservation biologist and primatologist. My answer to how do we save the planet, I'm going to put quotes on that and we'll dive into that in the field, was to study it, analyze it, and collect this data. And through my career working on various continents and also teaching a variety of different undergrads and professional students, I found that science alone is only going to record the disturbances. What we need is connecting people to place, connecting people to this place, and sharing these stories. And so your role in the conservation of the Amazon is so essential. And I am always refilled when I'm there, and I learn everything from this community. And it just is an amazing experience. So we hope that you join us and do your own part to build these global and local connections.
Thanks, Katie. All right, let me introduce just a couple more people. This is just a slice of our faculty. We have many more that have come in and out depending on their availability. But we have a longstanding partnership with the Bug Chicks, and we've got Jess Honecker with us tonight. So Jess, do you want to just say a few words about your involvement with Morpho?
Yeah, absolutely. My name is Jess Honecker. I'm one half of the Bug Chicks. Christy Reddick is the other Bug Chick. She's traveling, so I'm going to be speaking for both of us here. So Christy and I are both, we're entomologists and we're educators, and we work at the intersection of entomology, STEM, and social emotional learning. And we've been going to the Amazon as part of the faculty for the Educator Academy since 2017. And we, along with Randy Morgan, he's another amazing entomologist. We handle sort of the bug education component. You learn about biodiversity, adaptations, bug bodies, behaviors, all of it. It's so much fun because the arthropod life in the jungle is very present. And I don't say that to like weird you out as an entomologist. It's absolutely thrilling. We get to see new things every single time that we're there. But not everybody starts out as a bug dork. So Christy and I take the opportunity to do social emotional learning in real time with participants while we're there. And because arthropods are such an incredible, necessary part of our world, it's super important that people sort of get familiar with them. And I think that people start to move into wonder. They go from fear to fascination during the time that they're there in the rainforest. And part of our work is helping educators also figure out the best way to tie in social emotional learning concepts in their own classrooms. We bring our Celestron digital microscopes. You can get really up close and personal views of the bugs, the arthropods that we find. And in the rainforest is a really incredible ecosystem. You get to see new things every day, bugs, plants, otherwise, and you're also able to make new connections every day. You see science in action, you do science. You're working with some really world-class individuals, and Ro touched on this a minute ago. It's, like the faculty is amazing, the local guides are amazing, but also the other educators that you are with, part of your cohort, like the experience there, the ideas that go around during the roundtables and during dinner. It's a really incredible group that you get to work with a lot of expertise. And I'll sort of round it out to say that yes, the pedagogy is amazing and the teaching connections are amazing and the bugs are obviously amazing. But I will say that importantly, you also get a lot of personal growth and development during the time that you're there too, which is amazing.
Great, thanks, Jess.
Sure.
Rob's not with us tonight, but Rob heads up our RE program with Lindsay's work. He is the curator of North American botany for the New York Botanical Garden, and has been a foundational part of our Amazon research initiative team. So again, just wanted to hear from a few voices of our faculty. These are folks that spend the entire time with you. They don't drop in and out just for one workshop and be on their way. They're with you at the start of the program, and they're there almost when you get on the plane. So it's a really, really wonderful team. We all really love each other a whole lot, and we love bringing in new people into the Morpho network. I would be totally remiss if I didn't give a huge, giant, super big shout out to our Peruvian team. We have worked with Percy, Roldan, and Cesar for the entirety of the Educator Academy program. They are still our guides for that program. When they can, they also join us as full-on student researchers, teacher researchers during the RE program. They are just incredible resources. All three of them are born and raised in the Amazon. They have a obviously deep passion for sharing their place, their home, and their ecosystem with teachers. They are natural born educators. And we just adore them, not only as human beings, but as our guides and local resources while we're in the field. Obviously, we also need to include our Indigenous community partners. They are also what we consider faculty. We are actually getting ready to launch in the next month or so a new web page that's going to spotlight all of our Maihuna community leaders and workshop leaders as full faculty, and provide a lot more resources on their stories. So look forward to that. And then finally, you guys, you teachers are the lifeblood of this entire program. The educators that join us each year are some of the best educators in the country. We just cannot say it enough that this is a collaborative space. We learn as much from you as we hope you learn from us. And it's just an amazing, amazing dynamic group of teachers that join us each summer in the Amazon. I want to take an opportunity to just introduce you to three of our alumni. I'm going to start with Julie. She was our 2024 Courtney Wilson Fellow. And Julie, I'll just turn the mic over to you for a minute or two.
Thanks, Krista. Hi, everybody. I'm Julie. I am a high school biology teacher in rural coastal Virginia. So I got to go on my first experience with Morpho this past summer at the Educator Academy. And I initially sought out the experience just to kind of think of new ways that I can kind of increase engagement in my classroom, bring new fun labs and experiences, and just think about how I can make a difference in the community. But it really ended up becoming so much more for me. I learned that it's not really all about making it more fun. It's about making your students better environmental stewards and giving them this sense of place-based feeling and understanding of how they are so important for the ecosystem, not just where we live, but also globally. And I really feel like I am not exaggerating when I say it changed my life personally as well. Just to connect guides and is so amazing. And I feel like I learned so much about myself and where I want to go in the future in my personal life and my professional goals. So it's really so much more than being like a better teacher. I feel like a better human as a result. And I'm hoping to go back for RE either this summer or next summer. So you might see me out there again if you join us. So thanks.
Thanks, Julie. And if anybody's going to be at NSTA, if New Orleans is still standing, Julie's gonna be there. It's New Orleans, right? I think so.
Yeah, New Orleans, weekend in November.
Lacey, are you on the line? Lacey is in Louisiana right now. So there she is. All right, Lacey, I'll turn it over to you.
Okay. Hey, everybody. My name is Lacey Hoosier. I am a teacher and I've been a teacher for a long time, science teacher, and I actually was a Fund for Teachers Fellow. I was supposed to go in 2020, and then with COVID, our group didn't wind up going until 2022, whenever the Amazon was back open for us to go. So that was my first time at the Educator Academy. And I am a person who strongly believes in conservation through education. And for those of you that know me, or if you would like to friend me on social media through Facebook, I am all about nature photography and just teaching people about the world and teaching people to love everything, no matter what it is, and just to understand it. Nature appreciation for me is a huge part of my life. And of course, that carries over to my classroom. So that was one of the reasons that I wrote the grant to try to get in. And then whenever I was able to go, of course, it's hard to put in words what I felt. I wrote poetry. I was just so changed and moved, and it sat with me for a long time, and I brought that back into the classroom. And then I went back again this past summer as a teacher leader to help some of the other teachers, to offer photography, to help them through anything, answer questions. And I bring that back into my classroom daily. I'm part of the teacher team that is helping to look at the camera trap. let my kids kind of get in on that. They learn a lot. And for me, not only has it changed myself personally in the way that I am able to, have this passion and reignite that in my teaching, but personally, it is something that I feel that matters. And that's what we need people to understand. And that's what we need people to appreciate. So that's my role in that. And I hope you guys join us there, and feel free to friend me if you ever need anything.
Thanks, Lacey. Glad you survived the hurricane. All right, Andy.
Hey everyone, I'm Andy, and Lacey and I were roommates our first time in the Amazon, and Krista was right. You really build relationships that will endure for many years to come, because Lacey and I went back this summer and stay in close contact. Julie and Lacey are secondary educators. If you're on and you're an elementary educator and you're wondering if this is for you, trust me, it is. My background is as an elementary educator, particularly kindergarten, first and second grade, and now I work in professional learning. I was really interested in the Educator Academy in the Amazon for quite some time, and Krista and I communicated for a couple of years before I ever actually went. I love field work. It's a passion of mine, and if you are interested in it, this is definitely the place for you. If you're not sure if you are, I recommend trying it. I love the science content, and you've heard a lot about that, but something that is more deep, personal to me, are the people connections. I really enjoy spending time with the faculty. I enjoy spending time with the other participants, and especially the Indigenous people. So for me, that's really the most important part. And the connections that I've been able to make there are what keeps me coming back. And Lacey and I were having conversations while we were still in the Amazon about how we could raise funds to come back again and again and again. So highly recommend it. If you're worried about safety, if you're worried about being nervous around bugs or any of the animals or anything that are there, as Jess was telling you, you're going to be very safe, and everyone does the best they can do to take care of you. So highly recommend it. Thanks, you guys.
Thank you, Andy. Thanks, everybody. Okay. Now, just a quick nod to pre-departure, and then we'll get into like what happens next and logistics. So joining one of these programs is not just packing your bags. We are strongly committed to building an online community before, during, and after your participation. If you join us this summer, you will be joining over 250 alumni of our field programs. And we have a private online community where we have different discussion groups, different working groups, curriculum groups, camera trap group. All the important communications for upcoming field programs are run through this network, which you will be invited into when you register for the programs. We also provide, it's a very resource-rich environment. We provide a lot of resources. I'm realizing somehow this photo got flipped. It's in reverse. But if they're all really good resources, you just have to read them backwards in this picture. But we provide a whole resource kit for both programs, the field investigations guides from PEI, other tools that you can use both in the field and with your classroom, inquiry resources, etc. So that's all part of your programming fees. In addition, we really feel strongly after doing this for as long as we have, and we started the whole programming this way from the get-go, that building background knowledge and priming the pump for inquiry before you even set foot in the Amazon is critical to having you make the most of this experience and your investment in this experience. So for both courses, we have a Canvas prep course. Those modules open up in January to give teachers plenty of time, a very paced out, asynchronous, paced out release of modules so that you can be building background knowledge and, more importantly, making classroom connections even before you set foot in the Amazon. So these modules are designed to get you ready to go for the field experience that you're about to have. We also, if you haven't already checked this out on our website, we have a K-12 resource bank. All of the resources that we have on there are free to download. We are a nonprofit, and so we're giving this stuff away. We also have a bank of research articles and research papers that support the work that we do and highlight Amazon conservation. So please check those out. There's some really wonderful case studies. We are also actually in the middle of launching a very big curriculum project that's going to be facilitated by some of our teacher leaders and alumni to really amp up and ramp up the curriculum that we make available to teachers, both before they go to the Amazon, after they go to the Amazon, or even if they never go to the Amazon. So please check those out. As far as travel and logistics, this is the meat and potatoes of what needs to happen next if you'd like to join us. For both programs, we keep the program fees the same. Please know that there's sort of two parts to this. The first part is with the Morpho Institute, and you should view us as your school or as your institution, your institute. We provide the faculty and the curriculum and the resources and the resource kit. We offset your carbon footprint for your flights. We make a donation on your behalf to our Indigenous partners. All of that is part of your resource program fee that goes to the Morpho Institute. We partner then with a US-based travel company, EcoTeach. They're based out in Seattle, and they handle all of the travel logistics. They help you sort out what flights you want to get. They help you make the payments for the lodging. They answer questions about insurance. All of those really important things that they take off of Morpho's plate so we can stay in our lane as educators and stay focused on the learning experience. So there would be $825 paid to Morpho for tuition and all those other bells and whistles, and then $24.75 for your land costs once you hit Iquitos at the start of the program. That $3,300 does not include airfare because everybody comes from different cities. You have to get yourself to Iquitos, Peru, and that will vary widely depending on when you book it, how you book it, and what city you're departing from. And EcoTeach, again, can help answer some of those questions once you get rolling on things. As far as payment schedules, registration opens up on Sunday, September 15th at noon Eastern, and registration happens on a first come, first served basis. You will get an email back within 24 hours, if not nearly immediately, saying you've made it onto the roster or you're on a waiting list. And in order to 100% secure your space on the roster, you will need to place your $125 non-refundable deposit with the Morpho Institute in order to secure that spot. You won't owe anything else until the Morpho Institute until April, when the remaining balance of $700 will be due. EcoTeach, once you're registered with us and we know you're committed, we'll get you connected to EcoTeach, and the tentative schedule of payment for them is November 1st. Would be a non-refundable deposit towards travel and logistics on the ground so we can start reserving rooms, etc. You have a payment due in February, and then the final balance payment no later than May 15th. There's a piece about cancel for any reason travel insurance that you'll want to be paying attention to, because once you start making payments to EcoTeach, that would trigger the need to get that cancellation insurance. And EcoTeach will be able to talk to you about that. Once you've registered with us, you will get a massive email that outlines all of the different steps and will link you up to resources and web pages that will reinforce and expand upon the basic stuff about making payments and cancellation policies and all that sort of thing. Now, all that being said, remember, we are all educators. We've all been in the classroom. We know the reality of what it means to be an educator in the United States. And we also, obviously acknowledge that this is an investment. International travel is not inexpensive. As a nonprofit, Morpho is committed to providing scholarships and fellowships for as many teachers as we can. We are not yet at the place where we can do that for everybody, but every year we add more scholarships and more fellowships to our lineup. For 2025, we will have, for both programs, at least 3 or 4 small scholarships of $1,000 a piece, which definitely takes the edge off some of the costs. And then we will have a couple fellowships for each program, including the Courtney Wilson Fellowship that is named in honor of a young woman that just had such a bright future. those fellowships are a $2,500 award. So again, takes a big chunk off of that. The applications are rigorous and they're competitive, but we encourage everybody to go for those, regardless of whether you know you want to attend, regardless of whether you can attend the academy without funding or not. Two other options, the NEA Foundation has travel PD grants for teachers. That's a competitive one as well. I believe the award on that is between $3,000 and $5,000. And then Fund for Teachers, that is a $5,000 award. And we have had many Fund for Teachers fellows on our field programs. One year we had 5 of them. So we strongly encourage you to apply for that. Those scholarships open, or applications for Fund for Teachers open on October 1. I think they're due in December, and that's a $5,000 grant. So that would cover everything for either one of our programs. And we've had Fund for Teachers fellows on both the Educator Academy and on the RE program. Circling back to the Morpho scholarships and fellowships, those applications will go live on Sunday the 15th as well. The deadline for submission is November 15th, and you will know whether you've been accepted, whether you've been given a grant or a fellowship by December 15th, unless we have like an overwhelming number that we have to process. But that's our goal, is to let you know that. One thing I want to say about registration before we end here is, if you are 100% sure that you want to join us in the Amazon next summer and you are not relying on a scholarship in order to do that, please register and pay your non-refundable deposit, because that's the only way you will have a secure spot on that roster. We will hold spaces for a number of scholarships and fellowships, including Fund for Teachers, but we can only hold so many of those. So if you know for sure you want to come and you are still going to go ahead and apply for our scholarships or Fund for Teachers, but you're coming regardless, please go ahead and get your name on the roster and secure that spot. If, on the other hand, you are really dependent on funding and you can't do this without funding, on the registration form, there will be a place to indicate that. We need to know whether or not you are applying for Fund for Teachers. And if you're doing so, we'll work with you on that. Fund for Teachers doesn't release their grant recipients until the end of March, beginning of April. We know that, we understand that, but it's super helpful for us to know like how many people are out there are actually applying, so we can do a little like magic with our rosters and make sure we literally have enough mosquito nets for everybody. If you have any questions about any of these details, you can certainly reach out to me directly. We can have a phone conversation, we can jump on a Zoom office hour, or we can just communicate via email. But please reach out and get those questions answered. Again, all of this stuff will go live on Sunday. So we hope very much that you will come and find your awe with us next summer, both on the forest floor and in the canopy walkway. Registration, as I said, opens on September 15th. That's Sunday at 12. The roster's filled on a first come, first served basis. And we sure hope that we will have many of you that are on the call tonight joining us in the field next summer. So that was a lot of information, trying to get a lot out there to you. Appreciate you hanging in there with us. And I just want to take a little bit of time and see if there's any questions we can get answered. Nancy, you were monitoring the chat. Do you want to let me know if there's questions that need to be answered?
Yeah, so Mallory has one about the NEA application is due the 15th. They need information on a fiscal agent. Is Morpho the fiscal agent?
Yeah, we would be the nonprofit for that. Yep.
Okay. And I think everything else is answered except Lindsay is here. Lindsay, do you want to say hi?
Can I back up though? Again, is it
Yeah.
Mallory? Was it Mallory you said?
Mallory. Yeah.
Mallory. I'm wondering if you need to look at the fine print on that. NEA has never, if they've never paid us directly for any of their fellows. I think you might want to check and make sure that they're not referring to a fiscal agent that would maybe be your school or your institution. They could pay us, and we could serve as that fiscal agent. I just haven't looked at the fine print of that application to make sure I'm answering that 100% accurately. But I can certainly look into that because I do know that that application is coming up quickly, and it'd be really great because then you'd know in December whether or not you had funding to be able to join us. So that'd be terrific. There's another cycle that happens in the spring, but that's a little bit too late. Our roster will be filled by that point, I think. Okay, so that was it, Nance? Boy.
No, there's some new
question.
ones now. So Angela wants to know, do you have to pay the non-refundable deposit if you can only go if you get funding?
No. So you'll indicate that on your registration form. We really would love to know that you're planning on attending and that you will be applying for a scholarship and that you're dependent on that. But if you go ahead and submit that registration form, it will put you on a list, a ranked, of when that registration form comes in, so that you would get first dibs in the event that you decide I want to come anyway, and I want to see if there's space available. But yeah, we would really like to know if you're going to apply for a scholarship. So, but you don't have to pay the deposit unless you're certain you want to come or can come, I guess I should say. Everybody wants to.
And then a couple people have asked how many people are in each group.
Yeah, so we are constrained on two fronts: number of mosquito nets, literally the number of beds that we have to work with, and also quality of programming. So we do the minimum, or well, we don't really have a minimum, but we typically have 25 to 26 teachers. The upper level that we've ever run was 30. But usually our roster settles in right around 25 to 28. And that seems to be the sweet spot. So we will not go higher than 30. And that would be really some special maneuvering to get it that high for either one of the programs.
So I think that's it.
Okay. Lindsay, do you want, I have to make you, can you put your question in the chat? Or do you want me to add you so you can say a few words? Lindsay's our director of research. Did she put anything in there?
She can't unmute. Can we
okay.
unmute here?
I don't have the ability to do that. Sorry about that.
Krista, she shared her contact information. I put it in the chat.
Okay.
So she just wanted to say hi to everyone, and if they have any questions about research, to send her email.
Okay, perfect. That sounds great. Yeah, Lindsay's a really important part of our team. So, all right, everybody. I think if there are no more questions, we will just go ahead and stop this recording. Reach out if you have questions about any of this. You can get me at director@morphoinstitute.org, and I will be happy to answer questions via email, or if you want to give us a ring, we can do that as well. So look forward to seeing you all on the Amazon. Thanks, everybody, and thanks, team, for lending your voices to the conversation tonight. Have a good night, everybody, and welcome back to school.